Today's world, some brave people still have the courage to speak out, even when it means facing the challenges of cancel culture. These individuals often pay a big price for sharing their opinions, but when they do, it leaves woke people speechless. Those who claim to be tolerant are suddenly struggling to defend their ideas. Here are 5 moments where woke ideas were instantly challenged. Let's start with the time Jim Banks confronted Education Secretary Miguel Cardona. Jim Banks came in strong, dropping some hard truths that left Cardona searching for words. Watch closely.
Mr. Secretary, how about this? 2 weeks ago, U.S. students' civics and history scores were released, and they were the worst ever in American history. And I think one of the reasons why is because your administration, in a divisive way, wants to teach this kind of garbage to our kids. But let me move on. Indiana, my home state, recently passed a law at the state legislature that banned biological males from competing against girls in high school and elementary sports because obviously biological males have some physical traits that would give them an advantage in sports over girls. The Education Department, your department, proposed a rule change that would pull federal funding from schools that don't allow biological males to compete against girls in sports. Mr. Secretary, yes or no? Does that mean that your department would take away school lunch programs for needy kids because a state or a school won't allow a boy to compete against a girl in the sports?
So going back to the civics, if I could.
I'm asking you a question. Do you support taking away school lunches from kids who go to schools where boys aren't allowed to play on girls' sports teams?
We are promoting the most rigorous, intensive academic programming under Raise the Bar. I would love to share more information.
Do you support taking away a school lunch from a needy kid? A kid who might be the only warm meal they get every single day because that school won't allow a boy to compete on a girls' sports team?
I'm proud of the work we're doing.
It's a yes or no question, Mr. Secretary.
I'm proud of the work we're doing to make sure that all students
Madam
feel
Chair,
safe in school.
the answer is yes. This administration would take away school lunches from kids who need that lunch, maybe the only warm meal they might ever get because of the radical agenda of this administration. I yield back.
It's shocking that someone like Cardona, who can't give a simple yes or no answer, is in charge of our education system. People like him are pushing this woke agenda on our kids and are proud of it. This is the reality of the woke movement. It's not just about acceptance anymore. But wait until you see the next example, because unlike Cardona, Marilyn Rodriguez did answer the question, just in the worst possible way.
Ms. Marilyn, can men get pregnant?
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Marilyn disqualified herself from being taken seriously right off the bat, but let's see how she responds when the chairman asks her a simple question that always gets to the heart of the issue.
I'm not done. Define what a woman is, in your opinion.
Relevance, point of order.
Thank you very much.
It is relevant, and point of order not recognized. I would like you to answer that, because you are speaking on behalf of a bill that involves pregnant women, and I would like to get your take on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking in opposition to a bill related to the domestic violence against people who are pregnant.
Against a woman who is pregnant. That's in the bill, not people, woman. So I would like you to explain, in your definition, what a woman is.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
There are people who identify as different genders who are capable of getting pregnant. That is my position on this. I am not going to feed more into the bigotry of that question.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just want to make a comment of the reason I asked that question is there's 2 different philosophies in this room regarding this bill, and I think it is relevant to this bill. And I concur with Senator Rogers. It's a sad day in our nation where you have a bill that's being run that is protecting pregnant women. Just a few short years ago, we knew what a woman was. We knew men could not get pregnant. I still believe they cannot get pregnant. I was called a bigot this morning because of that philosophy. It's insane where we become, and until we continue to push back on the idiocy that's out there as to men getting pregnant, people that cannot define what a woman is, and we have to keep telling the truth that God created them male and female, and real men protect real women, period.
It's crazy that this is even being debated in 2024, yet here we are. And that was just the second woke example. Stick around, it only gets more shocking from here. Up next, we have Senator Kennedy taking on LGBTQ activists over the explicit books they've placed in school libraries. The content in these books is so graphic, it can't even be shown on YouTube without breaking their rules. There's no reason anything like this should be in any school.
The first one is called "All Boys Aren't Blue," and I will quote from it. "I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I have ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain." Close quote. All boys aren't blue. The second is another much discussed book. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called Genderqueer. Okay? Let me read an excerpt from that. Quote, "I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dough perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your in my mouth. I'm going to give you the job of your life. Then I want you inside of me." End quote. Now, Mr. Secretary, what are you asking us to do? Are you suggesting that only librarians should decide whether the two books that I just referenced should be available to kids? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you're saying.
Well, first of all, there's this...
Don't give me a speech. Tell me what you're asking me to do.
With all due respect, Senator, and the words you spoke are disturbing, especially coming out of your mouth is very disturbing. But I would also tell you that we're not advocating for kids to read porn, to Senator Booker's point.
What are you advocating for?
We are advocating for parents, random parents, not to have the ability, under the guise of keeping kids safe, to try and challenge the world view of every single manner on these issues.
You're getting conceptual game.
I'm not getting conceptual. I'm saying
yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because I want to know what you're recommending. It sounds to me like what some of you are saying, the librarians should decide who gets to see that book.
I'm saying when individual parents are allowed to make a decision of where that line is, and To Kill a Mockingbird, which involves a rape scene, should that book be pulled from our libraries? I think it becomes a slippery slope.
I think you ought to think about it a little bit more before you come here.
I've thought about,
Senator, you're going to propose something, you ought to be able, in 30 seconds, to be able to explain what you're asking us to do. Ms. Kelly, what do you understand? Well, let me skip you for a second. Mr. Cameron, tell me what you're proposing.
It's pronounced mix.
Mix? Is that how would you like me to refer to you?
Senator, your definition of sexual is synonymous with LGBTQ identity.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you to tell me you read those two excerpts.
Genderqueer.
Do you think that, are you asking that only librarians and not parents have any say in whether minors can read those books? Is that what you're saying?
Genderqueer has never been in my school library, so it's never been banned.
Well, suppose it was. Should it be up just to the librarian, or should parents have a say?
There should be facilitation of collaboration between students.
Should parents have a say?
Parents should be working with students and educators to be
Okay.
making decisions because students
All right.
are
And who decides ultimately? The librarian, or do you take a vote, or who takes the vote?
book review committees in the community in my school district.
You want a committee to decide?
There are committees.
Okay. Well, I'm asking you, how do we decide whether the two books that I just referenced should be available in the library? What would you, if you were running things, what would you do?
All Boys Aren't Blue, the scene you mentioned, is about sexual abuse.
I know what it's about.
It's not
What would
erotic.
you do in terms of making the books available? Would you say anybody can see them, or they have to be in a special session?
Students who do not read books like All Boys Aren't Blue cannot learn what is appropriate.
I understand that.
They cannot learn
I understand, but none
about
of you want to
abuse.
answer my question. You come here and you say censorship is bad, and of course it's bad. But the obvious response is, okay, you heard the books we're talking about. Okay, we're not talking about Catcher in the Rye. So tell me what you want, who gets to decide. And all I've heard is the librarians. And parents have nothing to do with it. And if that's your response, what planet did you just parachute in from?
Parents, Senator.
Or what country, more appropriately? This is not China.
Parents, Senator, for all due respect, parents absolutely have a say. My parents were immigrants, came to this country. We never checked out books without our parents seeing what books we were reading. They encouraged us to read
Mr.
books.
Secretary, I understand this is good for your politics back home.
It's got nothing to do with my politics. My bill is
Of course
passed.
it does.
My bill is
It has
passed.
everything to do with your politics.
I'm here to...
But you came here with a problem, and I'm trying to understand the solution, and you don't have one.
We solved the solution.
Other than to tell us that we don't agree with you, we'll be on the wrong side of history.
We solved the problem in Illinois. We fixed it because we.
Well, there are others you could work on.
Well, that's why I'm
out
here
of
to help.
time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To help other states make these decisions.
Yet these activists defended the books, even when the senator confronted them. They didn't back down, and what's even scarier is they're trying to take away parents' rights. No wonder parents are furious. They feel like schools are pushing this agenda behind their backs. But when parents finally get a chance to speak up, like at a recent school board meeting about gender-neutral bathrooms, things really heat up.
I have 2 kids in the Pickens County school system. I am a person who normally does not mind getting up and speaking. However, this is very hard to do for most of us. Most people in here probably won't get up and speak because of the fear of retaliation. My son would barely speak to me about it, and it's heartbreaking. I can sympathize with the parents of the kids who want their child to feel comfortable. However, I feel that there's a lot of parents in here whose children also feel very uncomfortable. As a traditional Southern-raised gentleman, I would never in my life use a restroom in which a female was in. I believe you can tell from the people around me, most of them feel the same way. Now, no person's rights are more important than anybody else's. My intention here is not to bully anyone. My intention is to make sure all of us and our children are treated fairly. Now,
so many of us don't even think twice about these wokies until they start invading our rights. That's when it becomes a problem. We didn't ask for this agenda to be forced into our schools, but now it's affecting our children. Parents like this father are finally taking a stand, and they're right to do so. When parental rights are being stripped away, it's time to push back, but he isn't over yet.
my son has a huge heart, and he doesn't want to say anything for fear that he is going to be labeled a bully. My son himself has been bullied and doesn't want anybody to feel that way. I don't want to make anybody feel that way. That's not how I've raised my kids. I'm not concerned about 2 kids slipping off in a bathroom to spend time with each other. Kids that want to do that will find a way to do it at school or after school or any other time. We've all been teenagers at some point. My concern is my son's level of comfort that is now being changed, and he has done nothing wrong. I also don't see anything wrong with my opinion. I don't believe anybody's going to change my opinion. And I'll be one of the first ones to stand up and help defend anybody's rights. I can say that because I've been a U.S. soldier and I've been a deputy sheriff. So please, before anybody wants to try and impugn my integrity, please consider that I try to live my life with honor and integrity. Amen. I put my life on the line many days for complete strangers. I would do so again gladly. But I will never let my own family's rights be overlooked or trampled on the way I was raised be trampled on simply because someone else feels uncomfortable. There have been accommodations made so that these situations can be handled with respect and dignity. If someone has a special need, and I do not think that this is not a special need, I completely can see where it would be a special need. Not a handicap, not any of that stuff, but a special need. As it is a special request, judging by the 500 people that are in here, it's pretty special. Since accommodations have been made already to me as an outsider looking in, it seems that this is nothing more than a political stunt and to gain attention.
Many of us don't pay attention to the woke movement until it starts infringing on our rights. That's when it becomes a problem. He has every right to fight back, because when parental rights are being taken away, it's time to act. And this fight isn't over yet. This father didn't hold back, calling it nothing but a public stunt for attention. And he's right. Parents like him refuse to be silenced. They won't let these activists take control of their children's minds. Schools are teaching anything that fits the woke agenda and calling it equality, even if it goes against basic biology. This was made clear in the next clip where students asked their teacher how someone could identify as a cat. The teacher's response was so ridiculous, you'll question the education system.
But if they want to identify as a cat or something, then they're like genuinely unwell. Then they've gone, yeah, they're crazy.
You were questioning their identity.
No, I wasn't questioning. I was just saying about the gender. I haven't said anything about them.
But where did you get this idea from that there's only two genders?
I just think it's my opinion. That is my opinion. If I respect their opinion, can't they respect my opinion?
It is not an opinion.
Yes, it is.
It's not an opinion.
There's only two genders. Those people think there's only two genders. There's only a boy and a girl. Today. There's no other private part. There's only two.
Gender is not linked to do with the to the parts that you were born with. Gender is about how you identify, which is what I said right from the very beginning of the lesson.
I just don't agree with that. So why should I have to listen to
biological sex, there is actually three biological sexes, because you can be born intersex. You can be born with male and female body parts or hormones.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, there's three. It's not three androids.
Doesn't mean... Yeah, there's three. I'm talking about biological sex. In terms of gender, there are lots of genders. There is transgender, there is agender, people that don't believe they have a gender at all.
Yeah, but you can't have that.
You can't have that. It's not a law.
Yeah, but it's not a law, but it's our opinion. We just don't agree with it. We just think it's all just... If you have you're a girl, if you have a boy. Yeah.
But cisgender is not necessarily the way to be. You were talking about the fact that cisgender is the norm. That you identify with the gender of the sexual order that you're born with or you're with. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah. Which is really despicable.
How? when it's if I called my mum right now, my mum would kill myself. If I called my mum, she'd say.
Well, that's very sad as well then.
How is it? Loads of people agree with it. There's only a small majority of people who actually think that.
And why do you think we have so many problems in the world with homophobia?
Yeah, but that's not homophobia, that's gender. Yeah. I'm fine with lesbians and gay people. Same. I've got nothing against them. Same.
But gender there is a link between it, and you're saying that people can't change
No, they
who they want to
can't.
be.
They can't. Unless you get attached. No, I'm not.
You're confusing sex and gender.
No, I'm not though, because if you have you're a girl, if you're a boy. Yeah, you can't have a and be a girl, but then even then, because you've got those genes.
How you identity, how you identify, which means not an opinion that we express in this school.
It is.
No, it's not. And if you don't like it, you need to go to a different school. So I'm reporting. You need to have a proper educational conversation about equality, diversity, and inclusion. Because I'm not having that expressed in my lesson. When I'm teaching you about you can be who you want to be, how you identify is up to you.
Everyone else thinks it, they just don't say it because then all this happens.
Maybe because they're polite and maybe they're sensitive.
I haven't said anything in all of the lessons I've been in. It's just because they turn around and start saying something. So I say, how can you identify as a cat when you're a girl?
Well, they're now writing a statement. I would imagine that you'll be asked to write a statement as well.
We will. Yeah, we will.
When someone disagrees with the woke agenda, activists quickly label them as homophobic. They even threaten students with being moved to different schools for simply standing up for what's right. It's shocking that these students seem to understand things better than their own teacher. This younger generation isn't falling for it, and that sends a strong message. The whole woke narrative starts to fall apart. After this clip went viral, British politician Lee Anderson took to live TV to call out this gender ideology.
A man and a woman. The opposition leaders clearly don't know the difference between a man and a woman. And now we've got children in schools in the country presenting as cats.
What's that about?
It's absolutely ridiculous. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
So, if one of my kids, when they were younger, came home and presented as a cat, what I would do, Dan, is I would give them a bowl of kitty cat, a saucer of milk, then at 10:30 at night, they'd be kicked out of the house and say, come back at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And then when they want to go to the toilet, they'd use a litter tray. And I'll tell you what, when mum and dad's going away for a fortnight to Greece or Spain in the summer, you're going in a cattery. I tell you what, like that, they wouldn't be a cat, they'd be a child again. Absolute nonsense.
So you can't buy into this madness, can you?
That's what it is, it's madness. It starts in the home and it continues in the school. These teachers that are pandering to this bloody woke nonsense.
Lots are.
We need a conversation with these teachers. They should not be allowed near children. A child is a child. It's not a cat, it's not a donkey or whatever they want to be. This is just absolute nonsense.
Well, and the thing that was so unfortunate, I thought, about the incident at Rye College, as I listened to the full exchange between the teacher and the 2 Year 8 girls. And they were saying, look, we're tolerant, we don't have an issue with anyone, but we also just believe in science and we believe that there are two sexes, you know, you're a male or a female. And the teacher said that was despicable and they should go to another school as a result.
The despicable thing in this conversation, Dan, as a teacher, and thank goodness for these children kicking back, thank goodness for this recording. This recording now I think it's gone viral on the internet, and more children will see this, more school children around the country, and they'll start kicking back.
It's interesting to agree with Priti Patel, who says left-wing ideology is starting to indoctrinate our youth.
That's what it is. It's exactly that. It's left-wing teachers who've got nothing else better to do. What they should be concentrating on is teaching our children how to read and write, you know, and getting through school and getting a good education. Instead of, it's indoctrination. That's what it is. It needs to stop. And like I say, some of these teachers, they're actually doing this. They should not be allowed near children.
Children need guidance, not blind affirmation. As Anderson said, these ideas have no place around kids, or we risk the whole world going woke. I'm building a community to spread the truth, and together we can make a difference. If you want to help fight this woke culture, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this.